Hello, hello. Hi guys, Jola Pypno-Crapanzano here with Coaching Journey with Jola. Welcome. I am so thrilled to have you all here. And you know what? Again, I have a big surprise for you. Don't I always? Today, we're going west and north. We're going to Canada, friends. I'm taking you to Vancouver to meet my gorgeous friend, brilliant transformational coach, Jasjit Rai. Welcome, Jasjit.
Hi, so wonderful to be here with you. Thank you.
Guys, Jasjit is not only unbelievable coach, like truly this session today, if you never invest in coaching, this will be your chance to understand what are we talking about when we say that, you know, everybody should flirt with the idea of having a coach because this could be life-changing, right? Jasjit, don't you agree?
I love that. Flirt with the idea. Because it can be fun. There's so much fun in it, actually, which
Yes,
not
because
everyone
like I
realizes.
said, even preparing for this call and knowing that you are a coach, I do the same. I'm a high performance coach. We have slightly different approaches, but yet we do the same for people. We try to show them the road that they don't see themselves, right? It's so many ways of putting this out there. But before we go into the, I call it meat and potatoes of this call, I'd like to ask you, because like I said, Canada is actually in still like that so-called safe space, right? You guys in the space zone. In my state alone, New Jersey, we have twice as many cases of that disgusting virus than you in the whole country. But how are you doing? Are you guys having any restrictions yet, or how is everything there?
We don't have the same level of restrictions as some countries in terms of the lockdown approach, but many things are shut and closed. And I think early on, which was maybe a couple of weeks ago, we were all confused. Some people were thinking very seriously about it. Others were thinking, oh, this isn't as big as the people are making it. And so there was that, maybe a couple of days, a few days of that questioning. And then I think, most people began just doing the right thing, which meant, closing down what they could close down, staying at home, being respectful of the requirements. We had some challenges because our spring started and all of a sudden we had these beautiful days. We have a gorgeous seawall by, walking on the water. And so guess what? Everybody wants to be there. And then the social distancing wasn't happening at the level that, we require. So there was a bit of that adjustment, but I think mostly people are honoring it as best as they can, and it is very good to start to see that it seems to be making a difference. So this particular week ahead is crucial for us as a country to see, are we doing all that we need?
Yes, and I think that, it's honestly, I've been observing the whole thing like over a month now. And because my mind is super like always detailed oriented and very analytical, I've been seeing that if anybody is still ahead, I mean, no, obviously let's talk China, then we have Italy, then we have, US, and then we have rest of Europe, and then you have like everybody's following the same exact path. So if people didn't experience it, like let's say Canada at that level of maybe South America or even Africa, they should really pay attention and do these things earlier rather than later, right? Because if we can avoid all that's happening, why not? So are you home, but you normally work from home as well, right? So for you, it's not such a tremendous lifestyle change.
No, my life is strangely not affected in a strong way. But it does remind me, I mean, I've been working from home mostly for about 20 years. And I remember those first few months in that first year when I started working alone, and how challenging it was and how isolated I felt at the time, even though I had no restrictions. It was really, really difficult. And I had to instill habits and routines and shifts in that first year to really survive it, because it was a lot. It was a lot
Yes,
trying to do
yes.
it.
And this will bring us beautifully into the conversation. But I also want to mention to you, I went to your beautiful city of Vancouver a couple of years ago. My son played lacrosse tournament there. and I was in love. What a gorgeous, gorgeous place. I can't blame people for trying to be on the water on the sunny, gorgeous day. But anyway, so what you're talking about right now is that when people are starting that sort of new lifestyle, which at this point is globally for everyone, everybody's stuck at home pretty much, unless they are, essential workers. So it doesn't go for just one country. It goes literally for, I have clients and I have friends and I have, even co-authors of this book all over the globe. And whoever I talk to, it's the same. Everybody's in the same boat. First time ever, we can truly understand each other more than ever, right? But when you said 20 years ago, when you had to pivot from your, had to, or rather wanted to pivot from your day job to the new lifestyle, new career that you chose, you said it was very challenging, right? But that brings me to something that how important it is that in today's day and age, if people have that opportunity or maybe should consider opportunity of pivoting, because when their income was cut short, like I lost my job 2 weeks ago, bam, if I didn't have this avenue of, trying to still be afloat and live and enjoy and just do and serve, I would be in a really, really deep trouble. So for you, it was a very challenging moment. So you had to go through some challenges. So perhaps you could share for us how this happened and how did you manage to so swiftly get into that new life?
Okay, so are you referring to the 20 years ago when I started the business?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well, I'll keep it really brief because I could go on storytelling all day. But it was just this inner push inside me that, like, it was almost like I just had to leave the employment world. It wasn't making sense for me. It wasn't enough. It wasn't a place that I could fully express myself in the way I wanted. And I knew that going, finding another new exciting job wasn't the answer. It felt very clear. So I made that decision. I made that decision quite rapidly. It was after a trip over in Hawaii. Actually, I was on holiday and found myself crying at the thought of coming home back to my old life. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked as anyone to have that strength of emotion show up. But when I see that, I'm one of those people who's like, well, I'm not going to ignore that. This is so my truth. And so I came back and I quit. And so I didn't have a plan. I had the idea that I wanted to start a business one day, and that one day was, maybe 3 years from now at the time. When I had obviously all my ducks in a row. I got my networking, I have my contacts, I've saved savings, like the things we all imagine we're going to have in place. And that wasn't totally the case.
Yes.
So I went into a kind of fear, a silent fear. I'm not a vocal worrier person. I don't do that. But it was like paralysis. Like I was so scared to make any moves.
I get goosebumps when you talk about it. I can so totally relate how that must feel if you know in your heart that you want to do something, but it takes courage. It takes so much courage to actually go forward with that, something that calls from inside, that inner voice, right?
Mm-hmm. So this first 2 months, I had ideas, I'm a creative person, I'm resourceful. I knew what to do, but I couldn't get myself to do it. And I'm sure you understand how many of our own clients go through that. I always say in my posts, they are intelligent people. They have wonderful talents, abilities and skills, but that doesn't make up for the emotional shift that one has to go through the transformation.
Yes. And so in today's call, we are going to talk about all these little elements that have to come together for a person to be able to go forward with that inner call, that inner finding of that main truth that we sometimes do not want to acknowledge, right? So I didn't say in the intro something else about you, because that will be something now that we need to introduce as well. So this lovely, beautiful lady, guys, be careful. She got the black belt in the combination between martial art and dance that's called Nia. I personally didn't know that style of should we say it, martial art slash dance activity. So I would let Jasjit tell us about it, because it's fascinating. How did you even find it? Why was it for you? And why did you decide again go on all the way to become instructor, teacher, and a black belt owner?
So this year that I began my business, when I got out of my fear and realized I need to take action, I began taking action. I had landed an amazing contract with a company within a couple of months, and things started progressing. But as I said, the challenges of working at home were still really difficult for me, and I had to, I was looking for ways to get myself feeling, getting my energy moving, keeping connected with people, not feeling the isolation, not, feeling I'm stuck all day alone, and all of the, what comes with that.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that came up inside me was this need to get physical, like
Yes.
just go start doing something. And this is exactly the, my chapter, and the story is in the book
Yes. Yes.
one,
Yes.
very clearly stated about everything I went through. And I share it with that detail because I want people, it's easy when you see the end result of a person's transformation to go, oh, that's wonderful. That
Yeah.
looks like
Just like
you
that, right?
belong there,
No,
right?
not.
But I share like all of the fears I had, and the parts of me that were like, what on earth are you doing? So briefly, I won't spoil too much of the chapter, just the essence of it is that I was hearing a voice in my own mind telling me to get out of my mind. Stop thinking, stop living in your intellectual, mental realm, which is a place I loved to be because I love learning. And my work is very mentally oriented, right, in many ways. So I got this message, and it was like the most curious message to be receiving. But I began acting on it, and I thought, yeah, it was like all of this, everything just started downloading, almost like the ads, like, get out of your mind. What is it I'm going to do? Go see something physical, but because that's something you don't really do in your
Yeah.
life.
Yes.
And so, and then being alone all day, I was like, well, yeah, what happens if I went to a fitness class or a dance class or a martial arts class? Let me find something that will get me out of the house, get me in a community of people. It doesn't mean I have to be best friends or something, but
Right.
just somewhere that I can be. I have a sense of commitment to it. I am motivated by seeing people, I love
Mm-hmm.
that. It gives me energy. So that also raises my commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started. I was just like looking for something to do outside of my workspace at home that was going to give me energy and also the strength to have a business and grow a business, because it's not a minor undertaking, right?
Yeah.
We have to rise up on many levels. And
Energetically, yes, of course, absolutely, yes. And you mentioned that you were never into really sort of like working out routines or anything like that. So for you to find that thing that worked was a little bit of challenge, because not you could have went you could have gone to any type of gym and it wasn't for you. So it's very cool that you found that, but it's important for people to know that truly it doesn't matter. It could be Nia, maybe somebody gets as excited about it as you did, because for me, just about the way you talk about it, I'm freaking excited to even go and watch the class, because I've never heard of it, and I'm so always interested in new things, in novelties, that, and especially if they relate it in any shape or form to dance, I already love it, right? So that is an amazing thing. But what's important is that you also learn from this. It's not only that you energetically getting yourself higher, that you're meeting people, that you get out of your lonely space at home, but also the connection that once you move your body psychologically, everything changes here. The physiology psychology connection is crazy, right? How you can connect your body movement with the way how you act and perform afterwards. So that's so big. So tell us about Nia a little bit.
mhm. Yeah, so I found this thing. I had never heard of Nia before I stepped into a class. So it was foreign to me like everyone else. And I stepped in, and just the experience I had was something that I hadn't felt before in anything. It was almost like I knew that all of me was welcome. All of me, the parts that I don't get to express on a day-to-day basis. And so it has to do with expression, it has to do with feelings, it has to do with artistry. It includes the masculine, the strength, the power, a structure, a framework, and includes the feminine, the grace, the mystery, the creativity.
Mm.
And so all of that is what it was like, the whole class was like that for me. And I was like missing some steps and I didn't get it all. It wasn't easy.
I
So
remember you wrote in a book, you end up in the class few minutes late after night out, and you popped in and they put you in the first row, and I'm like, oh boy, trouble. That I can
yeah,
so see this. So I'm like, ah. So this
exactly.
reminds
So
this reminds me, this past summer I had a retreat in Bali with women, and we wanted to have that first-hand experience on a yoga class, and I'm not big on yoga, I never really knew much about it, so we took this class, and again I also like almost end up in the front row. I'm like, wow, what am I gonna do now? So that was very similar. Anyway.
yeah. So Nia is it's a blend, right? And that's why it's very hard for people to really imagine it. And I always encourage people, like, just try a class or two. Just go in and have fun, like you're having an experiment, and then you'll see, right? So it's a blend of dance arts and martial arts and healing arts.
That's
And that's actually what compelled me, because I was having, in my head, I was like, well, I love the idea of martial arts, but I don't want to hit anything. I honestly didn't. Um, I loved dance and the expression, but I didn't want to be a dancer and a performer. And I tried a couple of those things and they weren't fitting. So all of a sudden, there was this experience called Nia, spelled Nia, by the way, that encompassed all of this. And it is about health, and it's about fitness, and it's about expression. So like, I mean, I don't know, I could have found anything more perfect that literally met my needs. And it was one thing to see it on paper, but to step into the class and have the experience of it was amazing.
that's
Yeah, it's also
phenomenal.
just done barefoot. It's to music. It had all of these things that just felt right in
Yeah,
my
and I
body.
want to tell people about something that I don't remember if this was mentioned in the book, or some research I did on you yesterday, was that one of the television stations or internet that right now have these free 1 month trials. So if people wanted to check it out, they could check it out, right?
Yeah, it's so exciting. Like, I mean, that was my first concern, was what about my students? And
Yeah.
uh, there is, so it's called NIA, NIA, fit.tv.
Yeah,
And
if
so
you
people can
remember, maybe
go.
we can drop after below this recording the link to it. Because who knows, maybe someone gets excited just like you. And if we can help in any shape or form, look, you don't need to go on with life, but at least check it out. I definitely will, because I tell you, you put the seed in me. I'm so excited to try it out at least, so that's awesome. And so what we're trying again to show here, what happened was something happened. That little voice told Jasjit, I do not want to work where I was working. She switched it. Then the little voice said, yeah, you need a little bit more energy. You need to get out to people. Find the way to do that. She finds this thing. Then there was another little voice starting telling her, well, listen, perhaps you should do more than just being a student, right?
Yeah, that was like the such a shock. I mean, I was having this conversation in my head during the class, because and this, believe me, I'm not somebody who has my inner voice speak to me like this all the time. So it was shocking. It just said, if you ever want to teach anything physical, this is it. And then quiet. I'm in the class dancing about. I hear this, and my first reaction was, are you crazy? There's no way I'll ever be a dance teacher. I don't do that. That's not who I am. I'm not a fitness teacher. I'm not, no. But that's a critic, right? That's a little voice that wants you to stay safe and do all the normal things and not make a fool of yourself, for goodness sake. And fortunately, the impact I experienced in my body and spiritually was strong enough for me to go, okay, I hear you, voice, but I'm gonna leave the door open here and see what happens. And so I decided to be a student for a few months. Now, this is how the world works. This is how the universe works when you step into truth, magic, and intuition. I was honestly looking for some kind of practice or activity that I could introduce into my consulting work,
Mm.
into team building, where I could bring the creative element to it, because I knew that typical ways we teach adults are so limiting. We put each other in boxes, and you have to sit here and you listen to, 2-hour long seminars and stuff. We're not engaged as a whole person. And so that was my inner need before I even knew what Nia was. So then it shows up, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this it? This is not what I wanted or expected. And I stayed true to it, and I decided I'm going to take the teacher training. But even then, there was so much hesitation and fear. I was like, I won't decide until I get there and see what it is. And of course, it was one of the most powerful weeks of my life.
What is art? Art, I call it art in this point. Where this comes from? What countries was originated, Nia?
The founders was Debbie Rosas from the United States,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time Carlos Rosas, who's originally from Mexico.
Mm.
So it wasn't based on either of their countries specifically, because the movement forms are from both the East and the West.
That's why I thought it was from, actually. Yeah, that's so fascinating. And what kind of music is it usually incorporating?
It's quite a variety of music, and that's something that really calls to me, because there's music I love. Some of it is world music, some of it's dance techno music, some of it might have a spiritual energy to it. It's such a variety. And I'll tell you, some of the songs, occasionally, not always, but some of the songs I wouldn't normally listen to. Like, it's not something that I would want to put on the radio.
Not
But
your
there's
jam.
something about moving and dancing to it that really is empowering, because it takes us into a greater range of expression that we wouldn't access unless we were put into a situation to access it.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating? And I never even thought about it until right now, that this is already like, I don't know, maybe fifth, sixth interview in the series, talking to the co-authors of our amazing book one, that I forgot to say that Jasjit is also an international bestseller author as well, because we had a pleasure to collaborate on this project. But the thing is that, some of these authors, everybody kind of goes into the idea that the idea of dancing can bring you to the levels of, let's say, body movement. Okay, body movement can get you to the ideas that you can raise the vibrations, raise the energy, put your mind at the certain levels. So if you're feeling right now depressed at home, if you're feeling like you don't know what the hell to do because you're so upset about the reality, change the reality around yourself, right? Put some music on, move your body, and it can literally change everything for you. And maybe that would be Nia for you, who knows? So you become a black belt. So now you are the instructor, and that's what you do right now. You have your classes, you teach this in school, parallel, or maybe sometimes at the same time with your coaching, correct? And the funny thing is, what you say, that's so true, that in seminars, usually people sit and they fall asleep, and sometimes they have all body aches. Well, the seminars I go through, the high performance seminars, they are always high vibe, baby. They put the music so high up, and they make us move every now and then, because that's how you raise the awareness of what's happening around you. So I totally connect with that. Okay, so what I would like you to tell us now, because this is something that really, this quote I need to get right, so I don't want to just mess it up. So this guy's comes from the book. Listen to this. Through a multi-dimensional approach, you can go deeper and create shifts that appeared unachievable before. And you talk about 4 different realms that people are not aware. And that's why when you tend to your body through that movement, let's say in this case, classes of Nia, you can get yourself into that operating state that you never even knew existed. Please talk about it. This is like, I think, your biggest area of genius. This is something that I can connect so much, because it's truly across all the board, across all the coaching, in my high performance coaching goes just that same way. But you talk about it with this like really beautiful poetic way almost. That's why they call you little Buddha or mystic.
Yeah, so that was the piece that fell in when I was, as I said, looking for this. I needed something that was of a different dimension almost, right? To my work that I was doing, that I was in the mental realm. And so the four realms that are the mental, your intellect, the body, the physical, the emotional self, and then the spiritual self.
Virtual.
And of course, they're always operating. It's not that they're not operating, but most of us tend to lean towards one or two particularly. So for me, the mental realm was very strong. I was connected to the emotional and the spiritual, and the physical was probably the last. Even though like I took care of myself, it wasn't that, but I wasn't taking it up to higher levels at the time. So it was bringing all that together that then show that there are what you can call levels of awareness. So another way to look at it is the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious states. Okay, the subconscious is all of the conditioning and the programming that we get growing up to fit into society and do whatever we're supposed to do.
So that's
Right?
what the ego responding to, correct?
Yeah, they're default patterns, right?
Mhm.
And at the beginning, it's not that they're not valuable. They're valuable in helping us grow up. But there comes a time as an adult where we must begin shifting and connecting higher up. Okay. So 95% of programming is from that subconscious, sits in the subconscious. Then there's a conscious realm. So the conscious realm is, what do I want to eat today? You know, shall I go for a walk? It's very present. And it's also like if I were to ask you a question, you know, what's your favorite color? You have an answer. What would you like to do today? You have an answer. It's conscious. You're aware, you can answer it. This is where we make the decisions usually about our big life desires.
Mm.
But the conscious sits up here and the subconscious, which is pulling the strings, is down here going, no, but you know, you were this person all these years. You can't just change because that's going to upset the system. So our mind is very clever in coming up with grandiose visions and
Making
desires, but
excuses.
we are trapped. Yeah, excuses. We are trapped in the other. So now we go up to the superconscious state. The superconscious state is opening up, and those of you who study yoga and other practices are aware, for example, the idea of a crown chakra, or the idea of just accessing universal energy. And so that's where the new lives, right? That's where the new energy lives, the new vibration, the new frequency. So we're talking multi-dimensional here, right?
Mm.
That's where someone like me who had no idea I was going to, be in the dance and fitness industry at all, can access that energy and then make it part of my new reality.
And love it. Don't you love it?
And
You live it.
yes.
You're a living proof that it's so worth it to listen to that voice. My God, I can't even if I could give my energy right now, through all these internets and sell it to people, I literally have goosebumps thinking about it because there's so many people trapped in their lives. They unhappy, they do not enjoy it. And yet they could just listen, make that courageous move and live the life they deserve.
Mm-hmm. So that's where the practices come in. That's where, where is my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual realm? And this is where coaching comes in, is that we're raising the bar so you can access that superconscious state. So it's not just an idea sitting in your mind, it actually can be translated into your physical reality. And that's really what my coaching is about these days.
Yeah, and you talk often how people can come to you and give you all the bullshit that they have, and they talk to you, and until you actually, okay, enough, cut that out. Now tell me, what do you really want? And when you get to that point, and that goes for everyone, only if you really get the clarity, from that point on, you can start building up and actually get where the hell you want to go, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. That is so, so awesome. So I'm going to bring another quote now because I truly, truly love this one as well. So And that's actually almost like a finishing touch to what we talked about. You are the one you've been waiting for. So you already know what you really wanted from life. You inside of you knew that. So how do you wake up that courageous self? What do you tell people when they come to you? Oh yeah, I would like that, but I don't know. So for example, nowadays, people, some viewers right now, I mean, we're going to go at the end. Guys, by the way, welcome everyone again. I'm always so terrible with this, attending to my actual live viewers. But please, 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 any questions that popped in, drop them in the chat box, in the chat below. We will attend at the end to them. But the thing is, people, some of them are in a really bad situation. They lost jobs, like I said. They perhaps have to change the way of thinking about stuff for the future. What do you tell them if they're scared out of their mind? What do you tell them?
You know, this is where the way I work, it doesn't serve to go into that conversation about their fear. Because when we are in that conversation, no clear decision can be made, right?
I wanted to hear it from you loud and clear. Yes, thank you very much for that. That serves nobody.
Yeah, so I am very much in that place where I will sit and basically mirror and ask them the question to make a decision. I know you're scared. We will deal with that. But right now, there's only one question. What would you prefer instead? What would you rather have? What do you want? And as soon as a person tells me that, and they are, you know, it is their truth coming out, because I can, you know, you can feel that. I 100% without a doubt know that I can work with them to create it. There is no doubt in my field around whether they can or cannot. I know that we are all, I call it like having seeds planted within us in this lifetime. We come with those seeds. And it's a matter of, are we going to nurture them or not? Are we going to water them? Are we going to tend to them? I've so far chosen in my life to do those things, as you know, and I had fear through most of it.
Yes.
Right. But I also knew better. As in there was enough of an inner self that said, you have to do this. Most people will not do it until they are in pain.
Mm-hmm. When they hit the wall, right? When there's the bottom of the wall, whatever you want to call it, when it's like no way to go anymore, you have to go either up or bounce back or something like that. Very, very, very,
yeah.
very true.
And
so,
I had that as well. As I said, I was sitting in Hawaii, all of a sudden crying, and I didn't know why. So I had come to a breaking point. It wasn't, but I didn't know it until it happened.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
Yes. And then another piece that comes out of your teachings really jumped at me like, oh my goodness, that landed right here on the heart, is how important it is for people to understand that when you have an inkling, intuition, you should act on it right away, right? Because if you don't, it's almost like in Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Just do it right away, because that inner voice after that will talk you out of that. So please talk about that a little bit also, because, you know, sometimes we wake up with this amazing idea, you know what, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And then 5 minutes later, you forgot. And then in the evening, it just seems like it was impossible, mission impossible. So please talk about this. Acting up on that intuition is crucial.
Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, I had that quote that I think most people have heard, where it says, you know, man makes plans and God laughs. And, you know, I am perfect for this because I told you I had that mental realm. I was very active. I love plans. I love making plans, right? Coming up with 10,000 ideas. The beauty of intuition is that it is perfectly timed. By its very nature and existence, it is perfectly timed to show up exactly when it is required.
Yes. That's the higher self sending you that DM, come on, let's go. And you sometimes ignore it.
Yeah. So there's something that it knows that we don't in our human self know yet, right? So it popped into me when I left my, employment and started a business from scratch. And, you know, within, I said 2 months, and it was 2 months when I actually got off my sofa and was like, this is it. I have to get out of here and do something. And I kid you not, I landed a significant contract right after that because the next idea popped in, talk to this person.
Yeah.
And I literally called somebody I know and have known for years, and just literally said, by the way, I'm available for hire now. And this is what I'm doing. You know, are you interested?
Yeah.
And this person said, yeah, let's have a meeting. Did I know this person was available? Did I know they were looking? Did I know they would spend any money on hiring? No, I knew none of it. But the intuition came and I followed.
Yes. I love
And
it.
boom, same with Nia. I came at a time that I wouldn't have planned it. I would have probably pushed it off, said, oh, let me get my business to this level, and then I will dabble in fun things. That's the way my mind would have spoke. But the intuition said now.
No.
And it put me on a different trajectory, basically, that I wouldn't have been able to be on otherwise.
Yeah.
So that is the timing. And I do this with my clients. I've had clients literally have like shifts within 48 hours, like big opportunities showing up at their door because of that.
Because I believe it is simply connected with us. By making the decision, acting up on that intuition is us raising that energy vibration to that level that is actually recognized, right? So it's interesting how with people in different areas of entrepreneurship, people, let's say, are in some sort of multi-level marketing or other places, and they try to get clients, and they keep sending messages up and down, but the messages come from that energy of desperation, maybe of like maybe copying and pasting messages, and there's not truth in it, like really involved. Now, the minute they send something out of their heart and it goes out there with that true intention of help, of true intention of making something happen that matters, they may not get a direct message from that particular person that they intended to send this message, but all of a sudden somebody else shows up on the doorstep. Like you said, you just became available for that new opportunity. I said, okay, done with that. I am now doing this, and boom, new contract landed on your step. And then you say often how when people make this decision, your clients, within 24 to 48 hours, stuff changes, shifts, and happens for them, right? That's phenomenal. I'll be honest with you, and I am putting my hand on the heart and admitting that this, what you do already for many, many, many years, it's still relatively new. The energy work for me, it's only maybe half a year. I am coaching about 3 years right now, so I am a baby comparing to you. But I have to mention this. The energetic shift that I am now the feminine part of, not just that masculine hustle, bustle, that stuff. It is crazy, unbelievable stuff happening. I was telling yesterday a friend of mine how I am now even tapping into oracle card readings, Akashic records, stuff I never even knew existed. And I noticed energetically, I am so accurately pulling the right stuff that I'm amazed by myself. I'm afraid to really think things because they happen. They land on my lap. That's how accurate that stuff is. So that's why I am so fascinating by the stuff you're talking to me, because now I feel like I got this. When I connect the amazing curriculum of my high performance coaching with all this energetic stuff, baby, this is unstoppable. that's so good. So good.
Yeah, it's like it's opening into the field.
Yes.
And that field has a potent energy in it that we can access. And it is, like you accurately said, leaving the thinking mind out of it. We only bring in thinking when we've got, practical things to do that may require that, and that's wonderful. So it's not that we ignore it, but it's not the decision maker. It's not the one that knows, right? The one that knows is a different part of us. And so it is being a clear channel, essentially, being a clear channel for our higher truth, the knowing, the magic to show up. And we have to follow it. And it's not typically going to be easy or obvious or something we've done before. It's going to be different. And that's why so many people miss it by themselves, right? If they're not working with anyone else, not supported, they miss their intuition because they're used to like swatting it away like a fly. Like that, you know, it's like this piece of treasure coming towards them, and they swat it away because it's not in the languaging they understand typically, or in the framework of the life they're currently living.
Yeah.
And so, you know, part of what I do, and I do it in a fairly gentle way with people, is to attune them to that so that they begin to deeply trust themselves. And then they see, as I said, the evidence. It can be from the smallest little shifts to the bigger. You talked about, you know, I work with people with all businesses. So currently I have somebody in multi-level marketing. And I kid you not, but she's, you know, her business has grown in the last month, just this month, you know, this month when the world is going crazy. Her business is serving. Plus, she's been able to take on new team members who are 100% present now, where, you know, they weren't before.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about, timing. Your intuition right now is one of your most valuable assets, and believing it. And instead of waiting things out, I wonder what will happen on the earth. I wonder what people will do. I wonder what the economy is doing. Instead, listening to your greater truth and then making that decision to, you know, take action on it. And at minimum, start the wheels turning, right? Everyone's going to be at different places. So I'm not sure, you know, who's listening here, but I'm sure there's people from all stages of, I'm just thinking of starting a business, to the one where it's like, I have a business and I'm wondering which direction to go now that things are different.
Yeah, or even some other decision, not even business related, something that will maybe require some very important shift in other areas of life, right? Maybe personal, maybe relationships. How about that? Let's talk about that for a little bit. How important it is that people miss out because they just waiting for something to change, and meanwhile the intuition was telling them to do this. Why don't you talk about that? Because that's another very cool thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you know, I know, like, I went into coaching from consulting because I wanted to address all areas of life, you know, as broad, you know, as I could. And each one affects the other. At the same time, you know, I wasn't planning on, say, coaching somebody in the relationship realm, yet it comes up all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
all the time. And what I'm absolutely delighted about is how the coaching helps people, again, trust themselves and make decisions in relationships that enhances them. I had a client last year who, you know, she basically considered her marriage on the rocks. It wasn't the prime reason she hired me, because I typically, you know, work with people around business and career, but it was a big thing in her life. And so I worked with her in that regard of returning her to her power, her center. And then, you know, I think and this was just so-called on the side. It wasn't the main topic of discussion. And her relationship improved to 75% from 25.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, she was finding the warmth and the connection and the intimacy returning, and all of that. And it just like, oh, so much shifted. And it can go in any way. So far, I've only had one client whose truth was actually to leave a relationship. But that had been, she just hadn't, they were both great people who deeply cared about each other, but not a fit any
Right.
longer. Right?
But what's important is that if you actually, well, like you said, there was just maybe one example, could be more, who knows. This is a very trying times right now. People either gonna get very, very close together right now, or there will be a boom of divorces at the end of all of this. But bottom line is that there is all interconnected. When people tend to grow in their personal life, that immediately translates into the business. They produce better, they are more effective, they are less stressed. So that translates into their relationships with their teams, with the companies. So it's like, you know, everything is so interconnected in life, right? So it's so important that people understand it. Work on one thing, but it will have all that ripple effect on the whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask one more question, and then I'd like to turn into the last area of genius that I would cover with you today. But that last question is, we mentioned that shortly, that we can do a lot of different amazing things if we act from the right vibrancy and energy in life. And you talk about this beautifully, how important it is to get yourself in the right energy. And in your case, is that a creative energy of yours, right? So please tell us about that. How important it is to be in the right energy to give the most out of yourself, right?
Hmm. Well, I will take it back to currently what's happening and just what happened for me last week and my own kind of shifts, right? I
Mm-hmm.
actually started the week very positively. It was almost, I would say it's almost embarrassing how happy I felt. And that happiness was just coming from a sense of having the freedom to spend my time the way I wanted. Like we can take that for granted, especially when we're busy and doing
I
things.
don't want to repeat that. I said it already probably 3 times. It's like I am happy for being able to do so many things I didn't have time to do. Just for that, I'm so happy. It's this unbelievable gift. We gotta be grateful for what we can be grateful, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was wonderful. I was working. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use this to the best of my ability. And I was working out. I was doing Nia every day as well. And I was doing some meditation as well. And then I got lazy. I got lazy for a couple of days and I dropped my self-care. It's like, I don't feel like it today. And it was like, oh, well, not many people are online to do this. So let's not work. I let myself off the hook. And it's different if you're actually taking a break, that's beautiful. But I wasn't in that mode. That was my intention. But I let go. And guess what? Within a couple of days, my energy, started going down.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, that's how quickly it can happen, especially with what we're reading and listening to. The
Yes.
negative thoughts coming in.
Yes.
I actually had a couple of conversations where people reflected negative thinking about the economy, about this, about that. And I was like, I woke up like it was like I am sure that was given to me
Something
to.
hits you on the head, right? Like realization, like what the hell? And mind you, I want to mention to everyone, and it comes from people that have done so much work on themselves. So how easy it is for someone who doesn't, right? Who doesn't have that experience with personal development. I mean, that's why I am doing this series of interviews to just bring awareness how important it is to surround yourself with positivity, with knowledge, with different ideas, different resources, different just ways of dealing with this, not to let with that current mainstream of media and bad negativity, because you can so easily just slip into that. I'm done, life's over, it's done.
Mhm.
We can't do that. So you woke
So
up and you said, that's it.
yeah. And I was like, okay, get back on the track. You know what to do. It doesn't matter if you feel like it or not. Do the important things. And then this is also, so it quickly went the negative, but it quickly returned to the positive because, I aim to be attuned to that as often as possible. So I did that. And then again, I was having a session with one of my clients and hearing about some of her victories. And it was like, see how close that victory is, how available it is. And so that tuned me back up. And it's a recommitment to self. And anyone who is an entrepreneur knows this. We have to recommit over and over and over. And I'm sure those, who are married, it's like your marriage vows. You have to recommit to those vows over and over. Anything that's important to you, you have to make that decision. It's not you make it once and then you're in it for forever. You make it and remake it as many times as you have to when that's the truth for you.
Yes, and so interestingly enough, a lot of people who never worked as entrepreneurs now they kind of live that entrepreneurial lifestyle, working from home, have to work from the laptop or desktop or even telephone sometimes, and people actually start understanding that this is it. This is if they don't have a discipline, they can get laid off just as fast if the results are not delivered. And there's so many different jokes cruising around the internet. I'm sure you saw them. People are just like right now going crazy with overeating, forgetting their daily routines, morning routines, this and that. And honestly, I feel like, I guess it's just because I know that, just like you said, by slipping off, falling off the wagon, I don't want to fight myself on that bottom of the ditch. I want to be ahead of my game. So I am motivated more than ever. Actually, now that my injury is almost healed, I'm about to, start my very rigorous morning exercises, running and whatnot, starting tomorrow, April 1st. It's not a full day joke, full day joke. So yes, there's a lot of things going, because I feel that in the time of crisis, even more important than ever to be disciplined, right? So that's so, so awesome. Thank you for that. So Jasjit, if you just gave us like your top 3 tips, how to best get through this difficult time, what would it be?
Self-care is the primary foundation, and self-care is going to be different for everyone. I highly, of course, encourage movement of some sort that gets your heart rate increasing and gets the blood pumping. So something of that nature. Routine, creating some routine that allows you to feel just things moving forward, right? It gives you something stable to give attention to, right? And then open your mind. This is a training ground to open your mind when nothing else has to happen out in the world for many people, right? Other than whatever work and, you know, typical things, but there's space. So let's think more creatively, because so many people, especially in the, you know, whether it's in the coaching fields, the leadership fields, the spiritual fields, are talking about the potential of a new world. That new world isn't going to get created by itself. Yeah. We are the ones who have to create it, right? Yeah. So that's coming into what I almost call the warrior self. The true warrior who steps forward with bravery, with heart, with compassion.
Now a lot of leaders are born these days. These people who are right now out there doing the work, that's the people who really will be on top when everything just smooths down and quiets down, you know, because it's easy to be a victim. It's easy to blame and just go around and like, oh, no, you know, just take it in your hands. But you beautifully brought it to the creativity. And I know it's not something that you normally advertise bravely, but this shows me how important it is to have your passions and the things that you really want to do in life. So I'm going to talk about one more area of genius for you. And so that is that you are also a personal stylist. So tell us about this. How do you do that? Because that brings again that creativity, that stuff that sounds inside your heart. You want to bring it out there. And I tell you why I want to bring, because it's so close again to my heart. You know, I remember when I was a little girl back in, I call it black and white Poland at that time, you know, we didn't have anything really in the stores, like almost now, like white vinegar on a shelf, you know, and my imagination was going and I was creating these pictures in my head. And I was seeing people like really poorly dressed on the street. And in my head, I was putting them in this gorgeous designed clothes and stuff like that. So I said, who the hell knows? Maybe I had this hidden designer in me. And then I understood that my coaching, that desire to help people on a much broader level, like in all areas of their life, not just that look or not just that physical fitness level, but everything from the brain through the heart, through, you know, the body movement. So it was already born then. So talk to me about life being as a stylist.
Yeah. So like you, like it was an inner piece, you know, from when I was quite young. And, you know, I wouldn't describe myself as a fashionista or anything back then, but I loved fashion from almost like a spiritual connection.
That's a new approach to fashion, let me tell you.
It was like, I called it, when I did had more of a styling business, I called clothing our second skin.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it's a skin we get to choose.
I love it. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. We talked with Shalini yesterday a little bit about how important it is to, you know, do what makes you feel good. It doesn't matter what people think. You can be home, dressed, makeup, hair, whatever. You can be in PJs, whatever, you know, rocks your world.
Yeah. So it was actually around 2008, 2009 when, you know, the big financial crash happened. And I lost, at that time, a major contract that I had with the university. And I was actually offered a job by them. I was offered a job and I said no, because I did not want to return to being an employee. But I used that crisis moment to ask myself, what do I really want? Mm-hmm. So just like we're talking about today with anybody in the situation, I asked myself, what do I really want? And I decided I wasn't going to go back to and stay with consulting, which was a developed skill in me that I had history with, I had testimonials about. I decided to say no and go even deeper into my heart's desires. Fashion came up, and it was like Nia, a bit of a, I don't know. This is personal. This is something I love. I don't know that I want to tell anyone else how to dress. And yet, all of a sudden, I was flooded with awareness of comments people had said to me over the years about the way I dressed and where did I get my clothes. I even had a previous boss call me one day and asked me where I shopped. And she was, honest, she was about 15 years older than me. So I was like, I can't tell you the same stores. They won't do it for you.
Yeah.
But I can tell you the essence behind what I'm looking for. I spent an hour on the phone talking with her, and she goes, I had no idea. And I thought, I just do this. Not like somebody taught it to me.
Some people have it naturally, some don't, and that's where you come to help. Absolutely, yes. And it's, again, I'm going to bring it up a little bit to the black and white times in Poland, when there was nothing in, and we would create, let's say, fashion piece from my grandfather's shirt, linen shirt or something, put some fancy belt, and it would be like outfit of the freaking month. And then I came to, I never forget when I went my first trip abroad to Western countries, and I saw stores that were overflowing with luxury items, and I saw women on the street dressed so poorly. I'm like, oh my God, they have everything actually put on the mannequin for them to take, and just, it's already composed. They still couldn't get it. So it's, that's where the stylist work comes in, because everybody's different, right? Oh my goodness, I love it. And it was such a surprise for me. So thank you for sharing. So you do it now as a part of a hobby, or as a part of your...
Yeah, I did it for a couple of years, and I, offered the service, and it was incredible. Because I guess what that gave me, that coaching doesn't always give in the same way. It gave me a visible experience of the person transformed, and it was incredible. It's just watching somebody's inner beauty get expressed in how they're showing up was an incredible gift to be doing. So I loved it. I even actually went to Paris, and I decided to study, and I took an intensive program there. And this was, when they talk about a bucket list, this was definitely one of those items that I would have dreamt about. And I got to work in...
That's so awesome. Congratulations. That's great. That's fantastic. It's funny when you said it, because for me, when I connect my coaching with the second biggest passion of my life, which originally was the first biggest passion, which is travel. I am calling myself a travelholic, and always wanted to connect this with personal development. So when I developed this, my signature program, which is a coaching retreats in very exotic places all over the world, that's when I thrive. That's when I am at my height. That's when I'm in a state of flow, baby. When I can see transformations in people, in the places that I know helped because you withdrawn from your mundane daily routines, and I get to show them the beautiful world, and I truly love it more than anything I can even talk about. So when I can connect it, so it's almost like you connecting fashion with the coaching and transforming a person. For me, it's like transforming a person in a certain location somewhere around the world. That is so beautiful.
So now I offer it. Coaching kind of came around the same time, and I decided at the time anyway to include it in my packages with those people I work with, but I haven't been marketing it actively. That's all. But it is still, because as we have to, like you're talking about travel, when we change our environment includes the way we show up, how we present.
Yes.
Makes, visually, you can look at yourself in the mirror, and all of a sudden you see a difference.
Right.
So it enhances what the transformation a person is going on in the inside.
Yes.
Right. So they combine very well.
So perhaps now for women that listening to us, sometimes we're in these closed quarters right now, and maybe you feel like, I just want to throw a t-shirt on, and you feel the way the t-shirt looks on you, but just bring that vibration. Yeah, we can go to spas, we can, get nails done and fancy haircuts and whatnot. This hair should be cut a long time ago, but there's no way to do it. But the bottom line is we got to do what we got to do just to feel better and go work with what we got, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the value system. So beauty is like a food to me. Like, it doesn't, whether it's mine or when I look out at something, it
I
adds.
see a gorgeous interior behind you that also reflects you. I'm big on interior decorating as well. That's another passion of mine. Love it, love it. I thrive to just like go around. I can spend hours like looking at the space and designing it in my head, you know? So we connect in a few places here. I love it. Thank you so, so, so much, Jasjit, for being here with us today and sharing your knowledge. I'm gonna see now if we have some questions from the audience. And if we do, we will respond to them. But it was awesome. I'm always so thrilled to learn. I learn every time, you know. We had amazing Olya listen to us. Hello, Olya. We have Angelica. Thank you so much, ladies. Yeah, you know, I'm sure that this is so valuable that if people come up with questions afterwards, they will get back to you, to me. But please share with us your website, your social media handles. How can people actually reach you?
So my business is called Joy Works, and that's spelled J-O-I. So the website is joiworks.com. Someone can also email me at info@joyworks.com, and of course, find me on Facebook. So
yeah, and also obviously, guys, if you get yourself that beautiful book one, you're gonna have a very special access to Jasjit's free gift that we all, you know, at the end contributed to this work, and that's something again that it's worth way more than the book itself, because you can go further with the learning and with your personal development. Thank you so, so much. You are amazing. You are walking brilliance. I am so proud to know you. Please, 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 if you ever come to East Coast of US, just raise your hand. Love to meet you in person. And hopefully we get to maybe do one day the launching party together or something. You know, I know we gotta wait, but I truly believe it will happen.
that would be so fun. And it's been absolutely fantastic. I appreciate the time, your commitment to doing this. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a wonderful, stay safe and healthy. Promise me.
Yes.
Ciao.